So equanimity, that is the topic for the month. And when Jay talked about it on Monday, and I laughed when she said, we hear the word equanimity and it's like drum rolls, please. Here's the big one coming, the big word, equanimity. And it is, it's the mind of the Buddha. It's such a wonderful thing. In preparation for this opportunity to talk for a little bit about equanimity, it felt like drum rolls in my mind, right? I've read so much and heard so much about equanimity. And quite honestly, at the same time, I have felt oftentimes like I wish I had more of that. And I'm not alone in that. I know that. So I got really curious with this topic about equanimity. And I wrote some things that I will share with you all. And I'm assuming that most of us know what equanimity is. We have a general idea of what that is. Bill and Susan talked a lot about it last week. And a lot can be said, but also, can we feel it, right? Can we recognize equanimity inside of us? And can we recognize when equanimity is not there? So I would like to talk a little bit about that, what to do when we realize that equanimity is not present. And just hopefully this talk will be really practical and you will leave with some ideas of how to call back equanimity when you feel that you have left the vicinity of equanimity, how to access that state. So let me just pull out some notes that I had here. So equanimity is this quality of the awakened mind. And we're talking about it this month in the context of it being one of the 7 factors of awakening and necessary quality for enlightenment. But let's remember also that it is one of the 4 Brahma Viharas or divine abidings. It is a highest expression of the mind. And the mind, like Bill said, that it's not indifferent, not at all. It's a mind that is wise and composed and can just see this from this divine point of view. And the Buddha in the Brahma-Vihara Sutra describes equanimity as the highest of the 4 divine abidings. He says, develop a mind of equanimity, one free from hostility, from ill will, and uncontaminated by fear. This teaching suggests that equanimity is not cold detachment, but a wise and compassionate acceptance of life's changing conditions. Now, I know we've all tasted it, a lot or a little, It's a felt experience in the mind, in the heart, and in the body. When we feel equanimity, we feel calm, collected, not ruled by fear or the other afflictive emotions, but it is like a calm and collected point of view. So I would like to invite you to think about a time when you know that you felt equanimity. I'm going to briefly share an experience that I had recently, and hopefully that can trigger an experience inside each one of you. And I just want you to remember what it feels like to be able to keep that peace. Now, I think equanimity is a fruit of the practice, and we can definitely take steps to call it in intentionally. But it's also like a grace, I don't know, something that we're able to tap into. And this is what I was very gratefully connected to about 3 weeks ago. So I know some of you know my parents have been having some health issues, and that has really tested my equanimity. But it's what I have in front of me. So my dad, who's 84 years old, had to had a surgery, and I was the person that accompanied him at the hospital. And he was supposed to just be there one day, but he ended up having to stay a whole week because there was a bacteria that developed. And I had been preparing myself mentally for this and talking to myself as best I could, and knowing the risks that are involved with an 84-year-old having a surgery, and the complications that were possible. So there was a day And I'm sharing this, and hopefully this will trigger a memory for many of you about moments when you were like, wow, that was pretty sweet that I could access equanimity in that moment, right? My dad started having like a really high fever that wouldn't go down despite medicine and antibiotics. And he just started, his eyes started changing a little bit and losing touch with reality. And I was alone in the room with him and the nurse. And just the way in which the nurse looked at me was not good, let's say, right? It was like, "Oh, this is not looking good. It's been 8 hours and his fever is still really high, despite all the different things." And at that moment, I just had this thought, like, maybe this is it. Maybe my dad is going, now. And it was pretty miraculous because even though I could feel a sense of sadness, it didn't take over me, right? There was this acknowledgement that this is the way things are, and maybe he will die today. And I need to remain calm. So it was like this inner wisdom was able to be there with me, and I could feel a solidity in my body that is not, I mean, not the most common state for me, right? I try to cultivate it on purpose, but I knew I was being like blessed with equanimity in that moment and saying, I need to remain calm. I need to remember what I have learned about helping others in the process of transition. And I need to also keep equanimity for the benefit of my family and my mother, who I knew was getting really anxious, even though she was not in the room there with me. And I was able to breathe. And Thich Nhat Hanh, whom I love, came to mind. And what I heard in my mind was, let the Buddha do the breathing, let the Buddha do the loving. And I just sat there with my dad and was breathing and just helping him relax. Long story short, while I just kept breathing and keeping a peaceful conversation with him and just following his train of thought, which wasn't very rational at that moment, remembering some mantras that helped me and some prayers that helped me stay in the moment. And then after a few hours, the medicine kicked in. And after 5 days, he was released, right? So there's like this ending to the story where I didn't have to face my dad's death in that moment, but I thought I did. And I'm very thankful that equanimity was able to come. And as I went back then to study that experience, which is my invitation to all of you, think about a moment when you were able to access equanimity so that you can be your own teacher and that you can know, how do you access this state, right? For me, it was a full acceptance that this is the way this is. And because this arose in an interpersonal connection, how can I be there for this person in this moment? So I transcended myself and the daughter and the me. I was able to just be like, what does this person need from me? What does this moment need from me? And it was this stepping out of myself. I was like, wow, that was that was pretty magical, right? So that's one thing. That's one thing, and that's one thing that Thich Nhat Hanh recommends. Step out of yourself in that moment. Think about the other person, and that will help you in this interpersonal exchanges to remain more balanced. Now, after that experience, I had another one where I did not keep my equanimity as well. It was that same week, so it was a hard week for me, a lot of energy. Then once my dad was out of the hospital, I was like, okay, and stretching and shaking it loose and everything else. I had an encounter with a person who is very dear to me, who brought up something that had hurt them, something that I had said. They were like, I know you're going through a lot, but I just want to share with you that when you said that, it felt bad. So there's blame, right? That wind of blame. I felt blamed. I felt judged. I felt criticized. And I could just feel this rush, this energy coming. And I'm like, oh, I'm triggered. I am triggered. And I was aware of it, but I couldn't really stop it, right? And my first reaction was I wanted to defend myself. It was like a mix of, I'm sorry, I never wanted to hurt you, but you did this, so that's why I said that. Blah, blah, blah. And I could just feel the turmoil. Now, thankfully, I had that experience with my dad at the hospital where I could just say, this is not equanimity. I just lost my cool and my equanimity. I felt the heat. I started to tell this person, well, why are you bringing this right now? You know, I've gone through a lot. And then it was like, okay, this is reactivity. Let me breathe deeply because I can feel it in the body. So I want you to like be aware of how equanimity and non-equanimity feel in your body. Because like Susan often tells us, these are all felt experiences. And it is with the body that we can escape it. With this, the body can help us to shake it loose and to take some distance. This is something I really thank Susan for teaching me. I thought all of these things could be solved in the mind, right? And the point that I would love for you to take away, right, is this ground, breathe, settle, soothe. Ground. When you notice that your equanimity is gone, like when that person brought to mind something I said, and afterwards I said, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, maybe I should have said it in a different way. And I was able to handle it later, but I needed to just tell that person, this is not a good time to talk. I just can't because I am just going to defend myself right now. And that's not what I want. So I felt it and I went out for a walk. And this is something that Susan has taught me. Whenever you feel that intense emotionality inside of you, yes, try to reframe it, be self-compassionate. But if it's a lot to hold, and I know that many of us are maybe feeling fear because of the situation in the world and many other things that may be happening at personally or collectively, just go out to Mother Nature, right? Thich Nhat Hanh says she's the best bodhisattva. She's like our mama, you know, just go out. Take a walk, breathe, hug a tree, move that energy. We are still animals, you know, but, I mean, we're humans, but we're like they're animals in these bodies that carry stress. So go and shake it loose. Shake that energy and walk and be outside. And that will bring oxygen to your mind. We're bodies, we're minds, and that will allow you to slowly then come back to see what you can do to regain that equanimity. So I just want to add one more thing, right? Ground with the body, breathe, breathe. Find a place where you can be alone to gather all your feelings as you settle, and then soothe. So how can I soothe myself? How can I bring that caring attention back to myself? If it was because of blame, like in the case of this person where I felt blamed, can I have self-compassion? Well, I'm human, you know, and I'm not a Buddha, not a Buddha yet. I have the Buddha seed. So sometimes I will say snappy things and I'm still a good person, right? I'm still a good person. So I leave you with that mantra. If you ever feel you lose your equanimity because you felt you were blamed or you did something wrong and you enter into self-judgment or defensiveness and that's taking you off your center, just pause for a moment, ground, breathe, settle, soothe, and remind yourself, and I'm still a good person. I'm still a good person. And breathe. So thank you for your attention. I wish you all much success in this practice of equanimity. It's a big one. It's probably the big one. And with that, I invite you to stretch a little bit, to shake it loose as we move into our meditation. So I like this part, the part about shaking it. Shaking it loose. This is something that is really helpful. And if we hear parts of our body just cracking, that's stuff that is releasing. So open up the body in ways that are helpful and invite some deeper than usual breaths into your body as we all get ready here to sit with our bodies, our minds, our hearts on each other for our meditation. Get comfortable in your body. Let me just move this down. And just remember that you can choose a posture, whatever feels best for you today, whatever helps you feel more balanced, whether it's sitting down, kneeling, sitting on a chair, laying down, or even standing. Just check in with your body and see, what does your body feel like it would be most benefited by right now in terms of your posture. And allow it to enter a calm, grounded, open posture. And take a moment again to fully arrive into this part of our gathering, about to enter the silence, the calmness, alone but together with this Sangha. Setting that holding environment, appreciating the fact that you can take this time to soothe yourself, alone and together, to ground. Feeling your body and how your body is connected to the sofa or the chair. Feeling the space around you. And softening your body as needed to allow it to breathe. Relaxing your jaw, your shoulders. And being open to whatever is happening in your body today. If there's some tension or pain, you can use it to practice equanimity, to send some compassion to your own self, to maybe place that part of the body that hurts in a more comfortable posture, or to simply put your hand there and send it some warmth. Now invite curiosity to emerge so that you can get curious about your being, your breath, so that you can allow our time together here meditating to be replenishing and nurturing. Bhikkhu Analayo says that the trick to practice mindful breathing is to get really curious about the breath. Pretend that you're a child in kindergarten who is now given the task to pay attention to their breath with a lot of curiosity. Because later on, you're going to do a show and tell and explain, what is this breathing in a human body like? So get that curious, childish attention into your own breath and lungs and the mystery of being alive here and now in your body breathing. And let that soothe you and ground you. And softening, allowing, riding the breath, and letting that soothe you and ground you. In this last few minutes of our meditation, just deepening that relaxation, that ease, that being able to connect with your body, your mind, your heart in silence for a few more minutes today. Let that be nourishing to you. I'd like to close by reading a poem by Rumi, which I think aligns with equanimity. Probably have heard it before. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. They may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them all at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. By Rumi. Thank you for your practice.